Hi, everyone. My name is Quierra Luck, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick intro of what you're about to see. This is an exclusive interview with former Tar Heel, NBA, and Big 3 player Rashad McCants. This interview is honest, open, and transparent. I wasn't able to give the proper introduction because when Rashad and I immediately got on Zoom, we just started talking. And this is an authentic conversation. Nothing was completely rehearsed. I had some questions in mind, but it kind of just flowed, and you'll kind of see that in the interview. It was really genuine, sincere, and just a conversation that I think needed to be had after so long and after so many hurt feelings, hurt fans, and of course, I'm sure a lot of hurt people within the Carolina program. So I'm excited to see you guys dissect this. I'm excited to see you guys share your feelings on, where Rashad stands with you. So please leave your thoughts in the comments and let me know. Let me know what your thoughts were after seeing this video and exactly where Rashad stands going forward. Thank you so much, as always, for watching and enjoy.
Love, I ain't gonna lie. I look at the championship game a lot um, because it brings a lot of memories to our discipline as a unit. Um, we were so disciplined of accomplishing the goal that we knew at the beginning of the season there was nothing that was gonna stop us. And throughout the whole season, it was all about focus. The year before, we all cut our heads off, our hair off. We all went all in that Texas game, and I don't want to toot no horn or anything, but that was kind of my idea to bring the guys together, in a form where I was already shaving my head.
Right.
I told everybody, I want y'all shave y'all head. You know what I'm saying? And so me and Debo was the only ones that had their shaved heads. And so Sean was just like, fuck it, let's go. And once Sean did it,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, we all gonna do it. So we all did it. And we had a team meeting before the next game. The next day, we had a team meeting, all of us, amongst the players, and we just hashed out all of our differences, the elephants in the room, and who felt what. And even going into that game the next day, we felt more together as a team, right? It was more cohesiveness there. We just couldn't pull it out at the end. I just didn't hit the shot. I should have just hit the damn shot, but we just didn't pull it in. We didn't pull it together. So that next year, we added Marvin, and Marvin was probably the only key acquisition we really needed that could take us over the hump, and he did. And it made it magical because Marvin was the type of guy that didn't care. Like, he was like, I want everybody to eat. I want everybody to win. Don't look at me like I need the ball. Like, I'm just here to just be around y'all. Like, he was just soaking up the energy. So that made it easy to play with Marv. And for Jawad and Jackie and Melvin, it was senior year for them. So it was special for everybody to make sure that was special for them. They had been through a lot. And I think us as a unit, we were pretty much tired of each other at this point. So it's like, man, this year 3, we gotta get to this shit. We not coming back again to try to do this again. Like, nah, we gotta win this whole thing now. Let's take it home and let's go fulfill our dreams in the NBA. And that's just pretty much how I went.
So, Jawad actually told me it's almost scary how much identical your stories are. Like, he was like, that year, it was like championship or nothing. Like, there was no other plan that year. And he discussed how Melvin Scott was one of the few people who don't get mentioned a lot, who kind of like, helped change the game, and how great you were, and how, that day, the championship game was Sean's birthday. So you guys really had like, there was no other way but to win.
Right. I like to shine some light on that though. It was like, I was really selfish during that time. I was going through some conflict with Coach, and I wasn't locked in. I wasn't locked in, not with the team or anything, but it was Raymond was the one that always kind of reeled me in, you know what I'm saying? Because we had similar goals that we wanted to reach. And, you know, I had to I was 18 and a half, 19 maybe. Like, I don't know how to control these emotions when it come down to, you know, being mad and stubborn and trying to filter that out. So my teammates was able to reel me in and shot, look, it's bigger than anything that you can ever imagine what we're doing here. And so once that idea started to kick in, that it wasn't more about the conflict than it was about the championship, because that's why I came back. I was supposed to lead the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came back to win the championship. And so, you know, I was letting the conflict get in the way of what I had promised my teammates. Mm. So in that moment, it was easy to just say, you know what? It's Sean's birthday, man. And, you know, we here, we might as well win. You know, we didn't went this far, but the energy of it all, it was another game. There wasn't no nerves. There wasn't no, you know, are we gonna win? Nah, because we wasn't really the Avengers, but we was like, it's hard to explain because, like, for me, I had a Thanos mentality. Wasn't nobody we wasn't gonna lose. It was, but then you got Sean and Raymond, who in their own right is like Superman and Green Lantern or Batman, whoever you want to call them. They got their own super. Then we had our own superheroes. Dave was his own superhero. He was like Luke Cage. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Javon and Melvin. You know what I'm saying? Like they you got your own. Everybody had their own powers.
Right.
So that's what made us. That's what made us strong, was the fact that we didn't have to depend on one person. Everybody can hold their own weight.
So how did you grow from that? You said that you were selfish. How did you grow from that?
Well, I just looked at the bigger picture. I was able to, you know, see that the odds ain't always stacked, and sometimes you are wrong. Sometimes you could just be feeling like the world is against you, and that's always been my chip on the shoulder mentality anyway. Like, if you ain't with me, you against me. You know what I'm saying? And so I was able to learn from that going to the league, understanding that reputation, body language, everything plays a part when you want a fresh start. And so going into Minnesota was just a fresh start for me. It was like, man, whatever it is being said while I'm here, all this, you know, rumor stuff, let's just wipe it all clean and start fresh. And that was my mentality going into Minnesota.
Talk a little bit about, I kind of want to segue a little bit into the Big 3. And the only reason why I want to do this is because reading your book, you said that playing in the ACC kind of prepared you for the boos and the things like that. And if they weren't throwing stuff at you, then it was okay because you've heard these boos before. Just talk a little bit or expand on that, how playing college basketball kind of prepared you for much later in life.
Well, I mean, for one dynamic, like you said, the heckling, you don't get heckled when you're not a star player. So it's difficult for some players to understand what it feels like to take heckling and being tough-skinned and translate into the real world. And I think a lot of times with me, I like to deflect when coaches are trying to pick on the other players. I like to deflect that energy to me because I know I could take it.
Right.
There was a lot of players on our team that couldn't take criticism the way that I could. And so the most important thing for me is to identify and be aware that if coach tears this guy down, that I need this guy to do these things while we on the floor. And if his energy is not where it needs to be, he's not going to perform. And he's not performing because he's being attacked. And he don't know how to defend himself, or he don't know how to take the lashings. So for me, I always just stood there, got in front of him, look, just hit me. And then I'm going to go to him and let him know what that mistake was without him feeling like he was attacked. And I always did that. So when it comes to the NBA and being prepared from college, you look at how heckling and the crowds and booing. And I mean, I've had some of the worst things like said to me. When I got to Charlotte in the Big 3, there was concerns just because of the height of everything that was going on. I was unsure because I hadn't been back. I was expecting the worst, and I didn't get any of it because I still think people are still in the middle where they still love me to death because of what I did for the university and for just entertainment of basketball, and also hate me to death because how could you do such a thing?
Right.
Right. And so I love that dynamic because there's uncertainty there because there's information that's lacking.
Right.
That's gonna sway them left or right. So to see that they still have that love for me, but they just don't know where to put it, that's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. And it lets me know that I still have room to not necessarily explain, but to share my side, to share my thoughts and how I feel about the situation. And maybe that could help people have better insight onto the decisions I made, the things I say, why I wrote the book, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so then who is Rashad McCants?
I mean, I don't know yet. I'm still growing. I'm still growing. If I had an answer to that, I'd probably still be standing still somewhere where I'm not supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm growing every day, evolving, innovator, author, developer, creator, helper, savior. You know what I'm saying? I there ain't no negative bone in my body. I never cheat nobody. I never slight nobody. And like I told Dave, in the situation of how everyone feels I handled it wrong. And I say to myself, in that particular scenario, I was Django. And I needed to have everyone understand why I was upset, why I was mad, and why this wasn't a fit for what was going on. And like you said, I might have went about it the wrong way. But that's the only way I knew at the time that would get the attention, that would make sure the NCAA heard me, and UNC heard me, ESPN heard me, CNN heard me, everybody heard. And I did all those interviews, but it was one of them things where I didn't want to push the university, or not the university, I didn't want to push the basketball program into turmoil, but I knew I needed to use them as an example of what was happening. So regardless of all that stuff, we're past it. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to bring none of that stuff back up, but it does bring you down memory lane for sure.
So let's just talk a little bit about the book. And like I said, for me, it's almost scary how some of the experts in that book just kind of identify the state of the country right now. So talk a little bit about how can players use their platforms and their voices for change?
Well, I always say this is a quote that I love. You must be the change you wish to see. And for these athletes doing what they're doing now, I would say you need to be the example. Now, protests and all the stuff that everyone's doing, because it's a dynamic here. Let me just say this. There's clout chasing, and then there's passion. When you got passion for something, you're not going to just pop up and all of a sudden,
Right.
It's an ongoing thing. It's a tedious thing. So to see all of a sudden all these people saying, you know, I'll do anything for social reform and Black Lives Matter. And it's like, man, this has been happening long before last Tuesday. And you ain't said nothing beyond last Tuesday. So I would just ask players to be more consistent with their passions instead of chasing the attention behind what could come of you supporting something. Because that's when things, you know, they live for 2 days and then they die. And we don't, this is a movement right now where we can capitalize on multiple platforms. Black lives matter, but so does Black mind matter. Black minds matter. Black men matter. You know, Black women matter. Black kids matter. Everything Black matters, but so does everybody else in the fucking world. Everybody matter. But if we want to create real change, we got to be consistent. We got to be consistent. It can't be no drop off, and it can't be the same, color battle. At some point, we gotta realize is we all in the same boat. We all trying to go to the same place. Let's just make it happen.
Now, what do you think, if we look back on Colin Kaepernick, back in 2016, how could all of this have been different if we would have rallied around him the first time?
It could have been a lot different, seeing that the attention and the awareness on the subject matter would have heightened. But you got to understand, all of these police brutality deaths that got the attention came under the Obama administration. And so these are during times where it could have really we could have capitalized on so many things. Having a black man stop these type of things as a president during these type of times, but it didn't happen. And we attempted to get behind it celebrity-wise and basketball player-wise and entertainer-wise. We got behind it, but it wasn't consistent. And that's why I fell off. And now here we are 4 years later, election year again, and we're bringing the same thing up. So are we good? Or is it going to fall off again? Or are we going to stay consistent? Because we see the results from the consistency now. All these businesses are turning over. We got people feeling bad about, their past racist comments and past racist behaviors. And I want to give $100 million to all the Black lives. Come on, man. Come on, man.
And to keep going on with your book, in the book, you stress that it's a guide, and even though you have a little bit of, your personal accounts, it's for you informative to help college athletes choose the right coach, choose the right college, finding scholarships, informing parents how to, make informed decisions rather than just financial ones. Just expand a little bit how you just want to help the student athlete with your book and really informing them on one of the most important decisions of their life.
Well, the education aspect should be the forefront of our social propaganda and promotions on how we better our lives. I really think that in these times right now with the book, all of the jewels that I spit in there and all of the solutions that I tried to provide were or are detrimental to how we progress socially. And so those solutions, as far as understanding the origin of how we got here, plantation education started back 1712, Willie Lynch letter. So if we haven't changed our education system in 300, 400 years, how can you say you're not still a slave? You've been taught the same thing you were taught when they were slaves back then. The education system hasn't changed. So in order for anything to change, we must create a new system. And so in the book, that's what we talk about, is creating a new system. So the stranglehold of victimization and understanding information, we've been misinformed. And so my book is to push you towards the information, push you towards what you need as an athlete. You becoming an iconic figure. You need to be prepared for that iconic purpose, that iconic responsibility. You have to be financially literate. You have to be articulate. You have to speak well. You have to do a lot of things because it's what your leadership demands. And so in the book, we wanted to be a segue for you as an athlete to understand, first, how all of this stuff was set up. Secondly, how you can navigate it. Thirdly, how you can become prosperous during that time and also see the solution and see the results. That's what the book is ultimately about.
Now, with the NCAA shifting towards a name, image, and likeness, does that kind of help kind of bridge the gap with paying student athletes and making sure that they're properly compensated? I know it's not like a end all be all. It's just the first step of saying, okay, let's segue into this. Does that kind of help push things along in the right direction?
Not. I don't think so, because they're leading with the money, and that's when I've been watching this whole NCAA movement for the last 2 years, and they're allowing agents in, they're allowing kids to go from high school now, and now it's a competitive big market thing now, where you got your NBA versus your NCAA, and you got your commercialism versus your annual March Madness tournament. Right, so the NBA is now directly competing against March Madness, because you're taking top talent recruits and allowing them to go straight to pass education. You're allowing 18, 17-year-olds to not get an education because they got $2 million waiting on them. Right, so the $2 million you got waiting on, you don't know what to do with at all. So you go to this advisor, this financial advisor that your agent tells you, oh, he's a good friend, or we're going to refer you to these guys. And then 2 years later, you find out these guys stole from you because you didn't know nothing about money. You didn't care. Your mama and your daddy didn't know nothing about money. They didn't care. So when you get robbed, you just chalk it up. So instead of getting robbed, why can't you be a thousandaire before you become a millionaire? But that's why I say I wanted to be the next coach, because I would set every one of my players up for financial success after college, because that's what coaches don't do. And in my book, I talk about coaches being accountable through performance-based requirements. So now your kids have to perform, and they don't get no pay stub, they don't get no likeness stub unless if you pay it, you passed your performance requirements. So you shooting 65% in the free throw line, and the goal is you got to shoot over 78. You don't get that bread until you perform. And the coach don't get his bread until these kids are performing at this level. Everyone's accountable. So that's something that's not happening, where a coach can still be considered an amateur and still get paid $5 million a year, but the kid can't. But we want to change all that.
So you mentioned about being the next coach. Let's segue into back in March, you went and there was a letter given to UNC, and they wanted to give you the opportunity to speak on that. They didn't want to say anything without your behalf, and they wanted to respect you on that aspect. So if you want to let fans know what that letter was for and what you're kind of hoping to accomplish.
Well, like I said before to you, I wanted to discuss that with them face to face, but seeing how things just pan out, I think it's just best to just, tell everybody how I really felt at the time. I woke up one morning and it was just in the pit of my stomach. And I was ironically already in Chapel Hill at my parents' house. And it was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and just something just said, go. And the day before, me and my dad was going to go. And there was a different energy the day before. It wasn't going to be a let's go, and it wasn't none of that. It was just, these guys need to see me. But I woke up that next morning and I knew what I needed to do, because that's the energy that I carry. But sometimes I get distracted with my energy, and I want to be gangster and want to be hood, and I got to stay away from that sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But there was a correction in that energy, and it said, man, go down there, make good. Go down there, make good. Go down there and make it right. And I got in the car and I drove down there. And I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I was going to see everybody. And I knew everybody was going to see me. And I knew what I wanted to say. I knew what I wanted to get off my chest. And I knew it needed to be done. So when I got there, everybody was gone. She was like, they left this morning. I'm like, what? The odds of that happening? And they had just left for the ACC tournament. So I was like, wow, everybody's gone. Nobody's here. Nobody I would know. Nobody. Everybody's gone. I was like, well, I'm gonna just leave a letter here. So as I'm writing the letter, I was nervous writing the letter because I was already prepared to say all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole point of being there and going there was to ask for forgiveness. And I don't want everybody I don't want anybody to misconstrue what an apology is compared to asking for forgiveness. And so there wasn't no, oh, I want you guys, I'm gonna apologize, I'm sorry. No. It was, listen, I forgive y'all for what y'all did. And I want you to forgive me for what I did. Now, do the fans need to know what they did to me? No. They don't. Do the fans know what I did to the program? And yeah, everybody know. The world know. But I'm willing to erase all that and not even go down that road and just say, man, look, I forgive y'all. I hope y'all forgive me, but I'm going to move forward. I'm going to clear my space in my heart and in my head. And I know that I need this energy moving forward in my life to be successful in business, to have different relationships with people, but beyond basketball. And I wanted to clear that because I know that a lot of people have real strong ties with Carolina. People I do business with, they're just like, I was a Carolina fan and love Carolina and this and that. So I don't want that animosity of what happened, with me trying to do what I would call my side of God's work. And I don't want that to misconstrue my past. So asking for forgiveness was just an easy thing for me. And, Carolina's Carolina. Like, man, I went to Carolina to restore the program. 8-20. I could have went to any college in the world. I went to North Carolina. And I went to North Carolina because Michael Jordan went there. I'm going to be better than him. I'm going to break all his records. And then I'm going to go to the NBA and do the same thing. If he would have went to Georgetown, if he'd have went to Indiana, that's where I would have went. So just for the fact that Carolina was Carolina, I'm from Carolina, grew up watching Vince Carter was my favorite player, and I had an opportunity to go there, and not only go there, but put it back on the map. Oh, man, that's a no-brainer. No-brainer. So I always have love, much, much love, like to the point where the fans wouldn't even understand because they put me on a pedestal. They put me on a pedestal for a long time. And even though I did perform to the heights of that pedestal, these people really love what I brought to the game. And I can't thank them enough or appreciate them enough for that because that's what haunts me. That's what made me ask for their forgiveness because every time I'm looking on TV and looking at LeBron and Carmelo, I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, man, we used to be that. These are Carolina fans. They made me that. So I owe it to them to at least, speak on the matter. I'm not going to apologize to the fans, but I'm going to ask for their forgiveness. I'm going to ask them that even though they don't understand what happened and they don't need to understand what happened, just know that my heart is pure and that I have no ill will against anybody. And I wish everybody the best.
Wow. So, have you watched any Carolina ball? I mean, have
Yeah.
you so let's talk Carolina ball. Was you what have been your thoughts lately as far as this season and going, since you've been kind of quiet, they won in 2017, the redemption. Did you watch that? And so like in 2016 when they lost in the shot with Chris Jenkins, so what have you missed most, I guess, being a part of a collegiate program?
The player development, me being able to go in there and help these guys learn how to play basketball. Period. Period. I mean, I have to toot my horn when it comes to basketball because I know it. I've been a student for so long. I love it. I just know what I'm doing. And I think that's the same the contribution I can give to Sean May. He's the same guy. He know what he's doing. But it looks to me out there when I watch Carolina play that it's an old model that still functions with efficiency, but cannot get you over the hump down the line. And that's Roy. That has been Roy's MO since he's been in Kansas. this system can get you in the Final Four every year, top 3. You're going to get your seeding, you're going to have your record, you're going to have your stats. But when you don't have the players that surround that formula and you're not recruiting these guys that fit the system, you're going to fall short. And Roy likes to recruit system players. Cole Anthony just so happened to be pretty good. He did not fit in that system because it's an old model, right? And you look at Duke, how they play, they still run the same plays, but they just allow those new players to just do their thing and just play on their own merit. And so when you got Coach K adopting this new game and allowing these guys to play, these new guys are going to go to Duke more often. Because he just let us rock, right? Coach Williams not letting you rock. He's not going to let you rock. But it ain't about, you know, him and his particular philosophy. It's about the culture of the game and how the culture of the game has shifted. So with all the Carolina players I've seen over the last couple of years, there should be more player development. There's a lot of those players that are really good aren't getting better. There is no way in the world that Carolina shouldn't have 3 or 4 NBA guys every year coming out for the draft, like it's always been. We've always had top guys come out, at least one top guy that's gonna come out from Carolina. So it's to me, it's the player development, understanding how to make our players better during the course of the season, and not depend on them doing it for themselves, but just giving them a motivation, inspiration to like want to stay in the gym, want to get good, want to stay 2 years, want to stay 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Want to prove yourself that you're the best. That's missing. That's what I think that's missing as I watch. And I don't think that's a negative thing. I think that's just an analysis thing. I'm just in an analysis. So I don't want anybody to take that personal as far as, you know, Roy, anything. I would be critical of any coach just because I'm a student.
Right. So what have you been up to? You have a lot of things in play. You are a person of multiple titles. What has Rashad been up to, and what does your future look like?
Man.
What haven't you done? Is that an easy question?
Man. I'll just start with, I created recently the first vegan energy shot last year. We were able to move it to market, but unfortunately ran into some hiccups and have to reformulate. But it's called Vegano Energy. That was the number one thing that I had a few years ago. I developed a concept called Hemp House when the whole cannabis thing was going on. Hemp House Global, which was your first hotel, casino, and resort cannabis-based. Also, I just established a new company called Members Only America, which is your first digital virtual reality, extended reality platform for social media, video on demand, multimedia, so on and so forth. So it's a very big project. But on the most part, just consulting, training. I'm a trainer, fitness trainer, so I always got to, you know, keep my muscles right, you know, all that kind of stuff. So outside of that, you know, just staying out the way.
Okay, so that means you're going to send me a workout plan and get rid of this gut, because it won't go nowhere. I need it fixed. I need to look like Tiana Taylor.
Come on now, with the water, the whole nine. you got to be ambitious though. You can't just follow the plan for a week and then go back to eating, you know what I'm saying, the Popeye chicken sandwich.
Let's see, French fries are my favorite though. I can't give up French fries. I need you to work around a plan that involves French fries, hot dogs, and chicken nuggets.
Hot dogs?
Don't you do it. Don't you tell me what's in hot dogs. I don't want to know. Don't be that person.
We can work with the fries though.
Okay.
We can work with the fries.
So now, of course, I know some of your teammates and Carolina players are going to see this. And what is your message to them? And I guess what does the future look like? Trying to, you know, kind of mend those relationships and get back, you know, not saying the best of friends or going out to brunch every weekend, but, you know, just getting back to a place of peace with everybody.
I'll say this. I apologize to my teammates. I apologize to my teammates because I owe them an apology because they were blindsided with what happened, and I wasn't able to like warn them. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't able to warn anybody, but I do also feel they all knew what was coming. I think my time at that particular moment, what I had went through, I think they all knew, but everyone was blindsided. I think that's the biggest thing, is that no one expected that to happen, although they knew. But it wasn't like, oh, wow, you know, did he really just, he really did. Like, we knew he capable of doing it, but we didn't think he would do it. And so I want to apologize to them directly because I put them in a position where they had to choose. They had to choose sides. And choosing a side to be on my side at the time, my reputation, my history, you cannot side with me. You can't ride with me. I didn't expect anyone to. I did expect anyone to, but after the fact, it was like, yeah, it's too much. You're losing too much. You got too much to lose at that point, and I was willing to lose it all. And I didn't think about my teammates having that same type of thought process. Like, hey, am I gonna give up? What? No, Carolina love me. I'm not about to do this. No. And so I think that's the number one. Even though I didn't really have great relationships with everybody, and we never got to hang out, you know, it was young times, 17 to 19. And I didn't keep in touch with guys. I just moved to LA and became Hollywood and doing all my young stuff. But for those guys, they looked up to me, and I looked up to them, and I can understand that disappointment of seeing what happened, everybody's allegiance to the university, because every athlete has an allegiance to a university. My allegiance was different, which is why everyone's response was different. The Carolina family, that was different. My allegiance to the Carolina family was different at the time than everybody else's. So I just want to tell everybody that I understand the stance that everybody took and why they took it. I just want to take the opportunity now to say, man, we have an opportunity to make an even bigger stance on something even bigger. If everyone could understand what I'm doing now. You may not have understood what I was doing then, but right now, you know what I'm doing now. It's plantation education. We're trying to help these young kids get financial literacy. We're trying to help them, you know, take care of their families in the long haul, generational wealth, and give them real education. So now that y'all know that that's what I'm on, you know, it would be appreciated for the support, you know, supporting the book, reading the book. And that's what I said to you. If you read the book, you might understand me a little bit better. You might understand, you know, which direction I'm going in. But for the most part, that's how I feel about all the guys. You know, if I ever see them, because I did have some run-ins with a couple of guys that wasn't pleasant. So, you know, I can assure that those run-ins won't happen again. As far as whoever I do run into, it ain't gonna be no animosity.
I don't have anything else to ask you. That was awesome.
For
Thank
sure.
you for being so candid and so honest. Because just even looking back, like seeing you now, and even looking at interviews from like 3-4 years ago, it's insane that the difference. And it's yeah, it's a huge difference. So, okay, so then what's next? You know, this happened, the letters happened. So I guess my last question is just what's next? Where do we go from here?
I'm probably gonna do a circle back with Dave, man, so we can really kind of have a guy athlete conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I would like you to be there as well to mitigate and be in the middle. But I think that'll be healthy for where we are now, 10 years, 15 years later. I think that'll be good. But as far as getting back, speaking to certain people, I think we all need some time to reflect and heal on times what we're going through. But I'm open. Like I said, I'm grown now. You know, before I was stubborn and I retaliate and revenge, and when you feel like people done you wrong and you wanna strike. But now when you get older, you realize, what's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's just love and harmony, you know what I'm saying? And then being peaceful with yourself. And I want to be able to put all that stuff behind me and be in a room with people without wanting to beat anybody up.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it. Thank you so much, Rashad. I'm hoping that fans see you differently now, and kind of we're able to all just kind of, or they're able to all just heal from it, and we're at peace, and there's some understanding. And yeah, you seem kind of open and transparent, and I'm sure if they want to reach out and ask questions and comments, I'm sure I don't see you running away from that. So
Not at all, because I plan on being the first African American UNC coach. So we running with that, and that's what I'm going for. And it might be outlandish, it might be crazy, but Trump won the presidency. So Donald Trump, you could do it, I could do it.
all right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you again.